Hello, I'm James McGlinch of the Wharton School. It is my pleasure to introduce an ongoing project co-authored with Emilie Feldman, in which we investigate the role voluntary disclosure plays in reducing information costs specific to governance shifts from hierarchy to market, in addition to the equity market implication of reducing these costs. In looking at the prior academic literature, what we see is that firms confronted with elevated asymmetric information between managers and investors may select to shift certain transactions from hierarchy to market modes of governance through actions like corporate spinoffs. Such shifts have been shown to reduce asymmetric information between managers and investors, with much of this benefit attributed to improved disclosure quality following the shift. However, not accounted for in these studies comparing ex-ante and ex-post levels of asymmetric information is the potential for these asymmetries to be elevated during the shift itself. These shift-specific asymmetries can arise from costs related to information availability, assimilation, and the analysis of unique or difficult to understand corporate strategies. Taken together, this suggests that it is not just necessary to consider ex-ante and ex-post levels of information asymmetry and disclosure practices, but it is also necessary to consider disclosure practices and asymmetries during the shift itself. We use corporate spinoffs as our empirical context to examine these intra-shift information costs, because the relationship between the parent and spinoff entity during this period is governed by a specific contract known as a transition services agreement. This agreement defines the services the parent entity is required to provide the spinoff entity during separation so as to ensure business continuity. Importantly, the disclosure of these transition services agreements and the characteristics contained within them, such as the length of time and services to be provided, is voluntary. This creates a situation where disclosure varies across otherwise similar transactions. By employing propensity score matching and regression analysis of 192 corporate spinoffs between 2007 and 2016, we determined that not only is the disclosure of a transition services agreement associated with better announcement stock returns, but also disclosure which increases information availability to investors and reduces assimilation costs is most impactful. Overall, our study suggests intra-shift information costs as a novel source of information asymmetry beyond the ex-ante and ex-post levels of such asymmetry, examined by the existing literature looking at these same shifts from hierarchy to market governance.